Welcome to Warfield. Uh, so Warfield is probably the weakest hero in the game with the strongest opening. He is a hero with 3 passives and 7 units, not counting his default passive. His default passive only evolves the battlecruiser, which we won't be getting. The reason Warfield isn't particularly strong is because of that limited passive setup. That said, he can kill 2 hatcheries before first shop. The way we're going to make Warfield useful is by going for Medevac. Medevac removes the evolution requirements on your units. With that, we can play only into utility passives. So we're going to get Pickup Radius, we're going to get Ghost. We're going to go actually Pickup Radius and the 2 speed passives, so we can go as fast as possible while also being really flexible. Pickup Radius, the more Pickup Radius, the better. The trick with Warfield is going to be making do with the fact that we're not going to have the strongest units combined with the strongest passives combined with all of the utility. You know, if you got really comfortable with that with Tychus, Warfield's not going to have that. The trade-off is going to be that he has the best abilities, because the nuke cooldown combined with the BC drop can control the map extremely well, can deal a lot of damage to buildings. So you can get a lot of points, a lot of levels super early. That's what we're gonna focus on doing. As usual with collecting money, we don't want to grab every single mineral that's on the ground. We want to grab the important ones. Now, Medevac is going to inform a lot of this style because Medevac removes the evolution costs. It also gives us vision. It also gives us moving around, like it lets us teleport around the map. We're going to take Hellions because Hellions evolve quickly and they're going to cover our light base. We're going to banish all of these. So I'm tempted between Resocialization and Servos. We're actually going to take Resocialization this game because we're not going to actually even take those 7 units. Instead, we're going to evolve a couple of units, namely Vikings, Hellions, and Ghosts, and we're going to rely on just that to cover our game. And take another Resocialization. Yeah, we want to try to get tank faster, so let's keep banishing and looking for the stuff we want. That's good enough. Yeah, Pickup Radius. And this early, we already have leveled up Ghosts, so we're just going to run straight into here. Medevac lets us teleport around the map. Our cooldowns go down and our health goes up while we're in the Medevac, I believe, and the health part, but definitely on the cooldowns. So we have a lot of impunity to just wander around and get everything we need. Yeah, the strongest hero has the best opening, who'd have thought? Or the weakest hero has the best opening, who'd have thought? But again, that weakness is only in terms of being able to have like a really robust composition. Warfield is incredibly fun to play, and Warfield does have a lot of strengths. One of the things that we're going to be able to do is that while I've been suggesting that we are going to stay tall and just get a couple of units, we can also play very wide. If we want to, we can fill in these last 2 unit slots, and then we're going to be golden for the rest of the game. Right now we want to put those extra levels into Marauders and to, or not Marauders, into Hellions and into tanks if we get to. We don't really need more levels into Ghosts right now, just having Ghosts at all is doing us a lot of favors. So into tank, into tank, into Hellion. Hellion and Viking evolve faster than every other unit, and they also do splash against specific types of units, so they're really good to have when we want to stay level efficient. What we're going to try to do with Warfield, because we have so much mobility with the Medevac, is try to get bounties as much as possible and put all of our extra late game points from not getting the extra evolutions into those bounties. We're starting to talk about really like complicated army ideas, complicated like pacing ideas, but essentially each unit costs you about 15 points to, or no, not 15, about 18 points to evolve and finish completely, because it's 9 points per thing, 1 to evolve it, 8 to finish it, 1 to grab it, 8 to finish it. So we want to save those extra 36 points on those 2 units and put that into our bounties. Now, if we're not really getting good bounties, or if we see that we have a lot of extra points, we can instead pick up units later. That's why we don't want to banish everything, but we want to banish stuff to get it out of the way. Yeah, I think we care more about finishing Ghost than about upgrading Viking. I think Marauder is actually the only unit that's going to offer us, which is fine. Like I said, this is a tall style that even though we have the extra unit slots, we're not going to use them. And that's why I'm sharing it here, because even though it's clearly massively powerful compared to the builds we were looking at earlier, you kind of have to have this compromised mentality in order to make the most of it. So we want to grab this mineral here. This could be... it's purple. Okay. Yeah, we don't even have the money upgrade. Yeah, you can play this with a lot of different passives. The 2 money passives, so the money passives are Pickup and Jorium, which increases the money you get. The 2 speed passives, which are Servos and Afterburners, which both increase your movement speed. One only increases it by a total of 20, the other by 40%, but the 20% is also attack speed. And Resocialization is really good because we're using non-mounted units, and Resocialization benefits those. So we're going to clear this hive, or this layer, grab all the money. It's this early game now that's particularly comfortable, but we're definitely going to be feeling the pain of not having all of that power later game. But that won't be for a little bit. We could have cleared the map extremely quickly, but I'd rather get on the rotation of clearing these. Medevac, in general, is something you want to be casting off cooldown, I think, because you want to leverage that mobility as often as possible. You don't have to use it as aggressively as I'm using it, because you can also use it defensively. You can use it as a short-range blink. On top of all of Medevac's other strengths, it also protects you. Your units are still active, your pickup radius is still active. We don't ever need Raven Cache in the Medevac build because our Medevac is also giving us vision. So instead we're going to go cooldown. And the reason we're going cooldown is because of Nuke and Medevac. And yeah, this lets us finish Ghost. Nuke has an extremely generous cooldown. So we're going to cast it here, even though we're planning on going up there in a second. And now since we're a lot closer here, we can... actually, we're going to go towards Molten Sal, walk towards kill him, and then Medevac up. Yeah, so... this is on the upper end of what a really powerful Star Survivors build can start to whip out. This is not the most powerful build in the game. Our last 2 episodes are going to actually talk about the strongest builds. But the power of builds is really dependent on how many problems they solve by themselves. And the issue is you can't get an absurdly high level with this build because you're limiting either your movement speed or your money or something. I'm almost tempted to just put these points into the cache because our unit, the map is clear, so yeah, I'm just going to hold on to them for the artifact. And yeah, the map is almost clear. Yep, the map is clear in under 20 minutes. Wasn't even aiming for that. That's just what a really well optimized build can bring out, especially on Warfield, whose early game is by far the strongest. If you got nothing else from this video, just trying to follow the early game the way I did is going to give you a lot of mileage. So one of Warfield's benefits, his leveling benefit, is that each level he gives you 0.25% of a movement speed. And the way to think about that is that 80% you're going to have the 20% that you would have otherwise gotten from servos. So you can catch up on movement speed decently fast, though I still think you want afterburners. I think you want that more than you want smart servos, though you can play with both. Starport is decent. Hero damage does less than nothing for us. Raven Cache does very little for us, so we're going to go for Starport damage. Obviously, that only helps our Vikings, but we're going to be generous and put the last 2 points into Vikings so that they evolve when we can get them. There's not too many early threats that we care about, but it'll make clearing out the caches faster, or the bounties faster. This is an example of a build that gets massively stronger on larger maps, and why I don't like playing on larger maps, because we can just medevac everywhere, and there's, if we double the amount of hatches, we're still going to be getting chests, we're still going to be getting a lot of power. A nuke does 400 damage to structures, as well as a percentage, 25% of its life. A lot of the bounties are structures, so the nuke is really effective against them. In general, you can be casting nuke practically on cooldown and still not be casting it often enough. It's just always good. Yeah, at this point, even though we have a lot of spare stuff, it's going to be hard to get extra points. That 25% is always applied, so we want to use that even on units. But yeah, since we're not going to be getting a lot of money from unit kills, we don't want to be getting that extra, getting extra evolutions. We don't need anything else. Hellions cover our ground AoE for light, tanks cover our anti-armored AoE, and Vikings cover our air everything. Ghosts are there to clear out the single target. You can actually play this with just tank, Viking, Hellion, and in fact that's going to be a build I'll show off later. It's hard to really rate what the strongest units in the game are. I think a lot of them are fairly close, and there's a lot that we could say are really good, but we don't necessarily... I didn't want to use that one to buy a black market. We don't necessarily want to use them. Again, we don't want hero weapon, we don't want Raven Cache, so we just take the incidental healing. And here's how we triangle Molten South so he doesn't hurt us. And yeah. This build is definitely going to be able to get to that 30 cash money a lot simpler than anything else is. We just want to get to the center of the map in between black markets so that we can... Did Sal just spawn again in the same place? Yeah, we just want to get to the center of the map after every cache once the map is clear, so that we can really efficiently either walk over or fly over to anywhere the bounty spawns. The bounty spawn is completely random. If you rewind, I don't recommend doing that too often unless you're doing like a challenge run. If you rewind before a bounty spawns, you'll see it spawn somewhere else, so it's not even like seeded. Here we can just fly over. And see, mid-flight, half of its health is gone. Nuke, another quarter of its health. So yeah, here's where I think Star Survivor is actually really breaking. And I say that flatteringly. The game is genuinely struggling to keep up with providing threats to a style like this. And you see, we only have like 7 spare points, even with the Viking not even fully leveled. That's a big reason why we're waiting on actually spending those points, because we don't, if we spent another 36 points here, we would not have the points to spare. Like, we wouldn't be able to spend 36 points here. So we wouldn't have the points to spare to cover this, and we wouldn't have as much power late game in our what's it called? In our cache. Even just taking the ghost feels excessive, but I really like doing it. Now the movement speed doesn't affect the medevac, so even though we have the medevac debuff, or even though we have the movement speed debuff, we're not even as worried about it as we were with other builds, because it doesn't affect medevac. Now, hopefully, we can get this cache before, or this artifact piece before the shop spawns, so that we can get the both in our shop before there's any problem. And we could. An important thing to note about the shop, I've mentioned this briefly in other times, is that the first slot is always a unit and the second slot is always a passive. So if you're finished with all of your passives, your artifact pieces are always going to spawn in that second slot. So you can really abuse that to like really pace how you want to, like really like reliably grab them and unevolve them. That's a big reason why I say, you know, evolve your really important stuff first, then finish all your passives. In the case of Warfield, it's really hard not to finish all your passives, so it's nothing to really worry about. As we start approaching the late game, we're going to start reaching the point where our units, you know, we don't have Ordnance, we don't have Stim, we don't have one of the speed upgrades, though we're kind of walking to make up for that. We have the passive. Like the innate hero ability. We're trying to make up for the difference by just, or rather, we're going to try to make up for the difference for all of our defects with the black market caches, which is a big reason why the rather large size of the cache also holds Warfield back a little bit. Again, compared to the builds I was showing you earlier, this is absolutely wiping the floor with the game, but it's important to note, like, why isn't this completely snapping the game in half? And the answer is that after we reach that 5-minute mark, if we're not like really solid on caches, if we're not really solid on having everything cleared, we're going to start feeling the burn. Now, 2 of our units, the Hellion and the Tank, are factory units. Nothing really benefits from the extra additive and extra max health I talked about in the Tychus video. It's not really that important, so we go for factory. Again, that's something that's going to affect us later. For now, just put the points into the debuffs and you'll be good to go. The Tarrasque wall is spawning. We don't really care about it. The tanks and the ghosts get through it. Ghosts target the highest health unit in front of us, and tanks prioritize armored targets, so yeah, we're not really worried. We could have even used our medevac there to just fly over it, but I'm saving the medevac for a minute, just to use it on wherever the next bounty spawns. Now, upgraded Hellions have a benefit that whenever they kill something, they have a small chance to make it drop Starbucks, and that's why we're seeing a lot more incidental Starbucks. I don't think this will total a 7th passive over the course of the game, but it makes the 6th one come just a little bit sooner, which is nice. Yeah, this is going to be our first build that actually gets the 6. I am almost 100% positive in that. Got to be a little careful to run with some care, because you know we can't be as confident in our health bar as we were with Tychus, and we don't have the same recovery tool in the healing ability that we had with Raynor. It's important to keep all of these little things in mind. It's very easy to play one hero one way and try a different hero and think, oh, you know, this hero is so much weaker because it can't do these things as other heroes can do. And you got to keep up the difference. I've suggested Warfield's the weakest. It's by a small margin. I think he's like around tied with Raynor. Well, no, he's not around tied with Raynor. He's like slightly under Tychus and Raynor, which I think are about the same. Nova and Swan are the strongest, but it's not going to be clear why until I really show off their builds. However strong you thought this was, maybe by the end of this you're going to be thinking, oh yeah, that late game, that's not the smoothest late game necessarily. Or maybe you'll watch those videos and you'll go, oh my god, what? But yeah, Warfield's biggest advantage is this early game, and it's nice. I do really like this hero. But yeah, if you've been like keeping track now with all the little tricks, all the little stuff, the main thing we're adding here is the medevac idea, and really being able to leverage that for movement and for designing a comp however we want. The main just wonderfulness of the medevac is, I'm not going to put the points into Viking because I'll explain a bit, but the main wonderfulness of the medevac is that it completely opens up composition design. We don't have to worry about which passives and units we're taking together. So even though, Marine Mine makes sense because the units complement each other, and Mine pays for all of those extra points you need to put in the passives, and Marines really benefit from munitions, and Mines benefit from stim, even though the Liberator and the Firebat work well together because you get a massive health bar that makes you just unkillable in a lot of situations. The medevac allows you to, say, combine any units and any passives however you want. And the result of that is kind of nuts. With this build, I'm basically saying, with Tall Warfield, as I like to call this, is, this is enough. We have splash radius for our 3 units, we have these 3, and we have Ghost. So we're completely covered. See, even though we're not actually finishing the Vikings are still helping clear everything. And the reason we're not finishing it is just to get those extra points into our bounty earlier. Just because we want, as powerful bounty as possible, and we get more out of upgrading our bounty than we do out of upgrading our Vikings. Ghosts are also fully evolved, and Ghosts are really good against air, so we're covered against that, even if maybe we would have liked Vikings to be finished. Chests are going to finish Vikings for us, is another major factor, so we're still going to be picking up a lot of chests. And every chest is going to give us, another point in Viking. Not a lot of reason to spend those extra points there when we could get benefit from cash slightly earlier. The difference is completely negligible, though, unless you're doing, a really specific challenge run. It's just muscle memory. Yep. At any moment, you can leave a tough situation with medevac. The units spawn every time you kill any, so getting away from dangerous units also stops more units in that wave from spawning. So it's often really good to just run away if you're in danger, but it's a terrible way to make money. Here we're running because we want to make the cash money. I love calling it that. Yeah, the Starbucks. But yeah, Vikings are going to be fully leveled up before we're really dealing with Amon. With the post game. So we're not particularly worried. I think the main cash we really want at this point is the rapid recruitment, basically the second stage of resocialization. Resocialization is an extremely good passive just because it adds, for tanks, it's a 60% damage buff because you go from 3 tanks to 5. And that's damage that covers your area better. It's like attack speed, but without the armor-based downsides of attack speed. Resocialization is a 40% increase for ghosts because you have 5 ghosts to go up to 7. So it's, for 2 points, doing a lot more than any other 2 points in the game can. For other units, for Vikings, it does a little bit. Did I actually select all my Vikings? No, I didn't. Yeah, it's 8. It goes up to 10. It's still good. I'm actually going to put that point in now, because why not? We can later on, if we want to, just grab Marauders and evolve them practically from scratch. Put the points in, grab a chest to evolve them, and then put the points in again. It really depends on whether we think we want that ground cover, or if we think, you know what, no, we want those 15 points in a black market cash faster. Or 18 points. I don't know why I keep calling it 15 points. I think I have the math confused from something else. That's another reason we want the Hellions and the Vikings in this build. They're cheaper. And we want to be somewhat point efficient, because we don't have Jorium, and we, our main late game powerhouse is going to be those bounties. Really a shame to me the Vikings don't hit these, but that's fine. This will get us to 25, so You get 15 money from the Thrashers in the Amon phase, and you get 21 from the crystals in single player. So you can, if you're confident you can kill the Thrashers, you can say, hey, I have 36, I'm going to get 36 Starbucks in that phase. So we have 25, so we're confident we're going to have 6 to spare. Obviously, if we can get a little more, you see we get a Starbucks here now from the Hellions killing some of these Hunter Killers. Even better. We have 25 seconds to kill a couple more, so... yeah, the better your margins of error, the better off you'll be. But, so, Black Market. We're hoping to get something huge. Attack speed is huge. Unit attack speed does a lot for us. And hopefully we get rapid recoupment in the final phase. So, Factory, Starport, rapid recoupment. Obviously Barracks would be pretty good too, because it would upgrade our ghosts, but we can't have everything. The further into the late game we get, the better and better cooldown is going to be. We're going to be able to fly around all the time. We're going to be able to fire off nukes just non-stop. There's a lot of little tricky ways to use Battlecruiser. It's definitely not as important as Nuke, but it does do really respectable damage, and it lets you wall stuff off really effectively. You can play really safely, like I can just hide in this corner and Battlecruiser. It's just got a pretty meaningful cooldown. That's its only major downside. And why Nuke is just a lot more iconic. But yeah. With Medevac especially, we can clear off these artifacts really quickly. Tanks and ghosts do really well against hybrid, so we're pretty safe. We're decently safe. We're in danger. Other big benefit of Nuke is that it slows, so if you ever actually do need to slow down, you can just stop and nuke yourself. Nuke's radius increases with every level, but its power stays the same. So you slowly get to... yeah, this is what I was talking about his late game getting dangerous, right? Like, we're not able to get the full unit effectiveness that we can get in other builds. So we gotta play this like the Amon phase a lot safer, because we don't have stim, we don't have ordnance, we don't have all the movement speed and all the money in the world. So even though we could have cleared all of the artifacts super quickly right now, we had a close call there. We have to like back up and use the battlecruisers to protect ourselves. If you play the campaign, this should feel slightly familiar. If you were somehow really relating to Warfield. Yeah, we're gonna get this money wave. Even though they're purples and not blacks, there's so much money in these purple minerals compared to, like, each one is 1/5 of a black mineral, so getting a ton of them is still gonna do you a lot of good. So yeah, we're gonna just wall in, let the Vikings clear off this hybrid wave, and that combined with all the healing we've gotten from our medevac and from our healing passive, which is now giving us a little more health than the medevac is giving us, is going to let us break out soon. There you go. Did we grab the chest? Oh, no. That's okay. We're not too worried about every individual chest right now. Our goal is to survive. Our goal is to play, responsibly. You'll notice while you play these late game builds, especially ones that don't like solve everything for you, like this one doesn't solve the late game by itself, is that every little level you get late game, you start to really feel how you're thinning out the crowd slightly faster. Yeah, that'll keep you a lot safer against everything, and you'll sort of slowly realize that, oh no, I'm in danger, I'm safe, I'm actually killing everything. And that's what you're getting from each of those like huge dumps of points into black market caches. Again, so we need to just kill the 2 Thrashers or get very lucky on the on the Hellion damage to get the last couple bounties that we need, or the last couple dollars that we need in order to get the next black market cash. Sometimes you'll notice that units are like not moving the way you expect them to, and you can kind of abuse that, like I did there. Like you can especially wall them off, especially if you're doing that. You can have a little fun. The Seeker hybrid, you can juke and bully by using medevac to fly just as they're seeking in on you, because they won't be able to damage you while you're in the medevac. But the Viking also clears them, so you're pretty safe. Again, this is how we're playing this late game. We already cleared all the artifacts, so we're just trying to not die, which gets a little tricky, but it's fine. Yeah, our healing is starting to get to the point where if we get left alone for a second, we're almost back to full. Because 3 health a second, 2 from this, 1 from the medevac, starts to really pile up. We're getting a lot more from that cooldown passive. Really, we were just hoping to fight another Thrasher so we can get the last 3 money we need for 1 more black market cash, just to have a little bit more power against Amon. And there it is. We don't even have to kill all the Thrashers, but it doesn't hurt. Each one drops a chest. And in this particular moment, we have the Vikings going to town on them while there's only ground otherwise, so, the Vikings don't have anything else to hit. Because a lot of the health is percentage-based, or shield-based, the nuke does less to the overall beef of a Thrasher because it's dealing, 25% of their max health, but, they have shields, so that's less total max health than you'd think. And now we get one last shop during Amon, actually. But now we can get the final black market. And so we can pick between a lot of really good ones, actually. Rapid recruitment helps everything. Movement speed helps us survive better. We're already at a lot of extra movement speed, though, so I'm going to grab... how much would we actually get? 78. We'd only get 2 extra units. I'm actually going to grab the movement speed. Maybe we'll get 1 more unit now, but I'd rather have this ability to just run away and nuke Amon from a distance. Especially because a lot of what Amon does is slow. And yeah, we get 47 extra movement speed, so that plus our hero movement speed, which is giving us, an extra... Oh, let me do the math. Right now it's giving us over 40%, I think? No, it's giving us over 30%, because it's a quarter per point. It lets us just really zoom away from Amon. Now, if you want a lot more points, you can, instead of resocialization, and maybe instead of tanks, play into a Jorium style. If you want the full movement speed style, you can also consider running what's it called? You run. Being able to be in medevac also makes us a lot safer. You can consider swapping out the movement speed and playing a really slow and hard-hitting style by having the both money passives and resocialization. I really hope that doesn't kill us. That would be really, really tragic. Nope, yep, we're good. Yeah, the recovery is really coming in clutch. But there's a lot of ways to play medevac Warfield. I think non-medevac Warfield play doesn't work too well. You can do battle cruiser and 2 other synergistic units, but it's tricky. Yeah, medevac lets you play super, super safe against Amon. A lot of Amon's units, namely the flyer ones, or not Amon's units, but hybrid, drop those little health packs. So a lot of the times in this late game phase, even if you haven't tried to farm up the healing, you can still play really safe because you can, drop a lot of healing in one place and be safe. And just come back to it once you're in danger. There I might have medevac, but I wasn't in danger, so You want to medevac in those situations if you're going to get hit more than once in a row, because it lets you just leave. Here we're just going to medevac just to get out of here faster. We're also going to drive by kill that horde, which is nice. And yeah, now we're just going to burn through this last health bar. You know, we have Nuke with a lot of good cooldowns. A lot of good cooldown reduction, so we can burn through this health bar. And obviously the Vikings and the tanks did most of the damage there. Yep, that's how you play Tall Warfield, where you don't even get all of your units, but because of that, you get like a really focused comp, you get all the extra points you need, and you can completely obliterate the early game. Yeah, hope you enjoyed.